Hi guys, I'm Shmee. Hello and welcome back to the channel where you join me today at the Chateau Saint-Jean here in Molsheim, France, the home of Bugatti. We're going to be taking a look at the car that is behind me, the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus. This is the very car that was used as Bugatti set the world record, achieving a top speed of 304.77 miles per hour. We're going to take a look at the car today here at the home of Bugatti, talk a little bit about what's coming for the production version of this car and what the experience is going to be like for the lucky 30 customers. We'll also catch up with Andy Wallace, the man who was piloting it during that record run. Every day here though at Bugatti is an incredible one. I'm excited for this. Let's check out the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus. I've been lucky enough to come here and visit before to go for a full exploration. Over to that side you have the heritage cars in a small museum. Over to this side in the building you have the specification room that we'll check out later on with a Cento Dieci. You can spot some Chirons around a Chiron Sport just there. But here comes the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus. Named of course after this achievement. But just look at this car and the jet black exposed carbon fibre, the jet orange stripes on it. You can see the extended rear of the car. Some changes were made to the aero profile to make it possible to get to 300. That's 490 kilometers per hour, by the way, and listen to the sound of it. The 8-litre quad-turbo W16 making 1,600 horsepower. This car is menacing through and through, and it's being driven at the moment by the man of the hour, Mr. Andy Wallace himself, who has quite a number of accolades to his experience and racing story, but now, of course, the fastest car in the form of this exact one, which, by the way, still has the bug splats around the front, but you can hear that deep, deep grumble from it. This is quite something. The biggest change I can spot is this extended rear. Andy, how are you?
Great, thank you.
Good to see you and congratulations. What an achievement for yourself and for Bugatti.
Thanks very much, it was a blast.
For sure, I can imagine. Well, actually I can't really imagine. The fastest I've driven is about 150 kilometers an hour slower than you drove this.
Which is already quick.
Which is already quite quick, about 340 kilometers per hour. But just to take it in, I mean, fundamentally, this is a Chiron that was modified for the purposes of achieving that target, which is quite something.
Yeah, and of course it's also a Chiron that's been modified on the way to the production
exactly.
Super Sport 300 Plus.
And there are going to be 30 of these, 30 customer cars, who I don't know if they'll ever drive at 300 miles an hour. That speed would absolutely terrify me. But can we walk around it? Can we go through some of the details and talk about how this has been done? I know the aero profile has changed. I can spot some things initially, but starting right around the very front.
Yeah, so the first thing you need to do with a car like this, if you want to reach 300 miles an hour, is to reduce the drag. Mm-hmm. But you want to do it in a way that it still looks beautiful, and I think it does, in my opinion. So at the front, what we've got a slightly wider mouth and bigger cooling holes, and then these two air curtains on the side are significantly bigger with more airflow. So this is to try and direct the air down the sides of the car and reduce the turbulence and therefore the drag.
Because when you're driving at this speed, and I know you did this in increments, you built up the speed, it's completely different. It's a completely different game.
It is. The analogy I like to use is I was going to say most people have done 150 miles an hour. Let's do it more than that. Let's say some lucky people have done 200 miles an hour, which is seriously fast. If you then get the opportunity to drive 220, it's just 10% more. But you probably know yourself, it's seriously much quicker than 200. So you follow that all the way up to 304.77, and it's a whole different game altogether. Completely.
So, air profile around the front. I can spot some new design as well over the arches.
Yeah, with the wheels whizzing around as fast as they do, you are creating, and all the air coming in the front, you're creating a lot of pressure inside the wheel. Now, if you don't successfully evacuate that air, it goes under the car, and of course gives you some lift. And if you want to cancel that out without these holes, you have to start adding things on the front of the car to push it back down. So this is a really easy way, and really actually an elegant way of evacuating all the air from the wheel arches to reduce that pressure. And then at the back, when a standard Chiron goes into top speed mode and you use the second key, the car drops down to this height, actually 60-65 millimeters.
Okay.
The wing it was up before, it actually goes down to a very low level, 2 or 3 degrees. And then to keep the balance, there are these 2 hydraulically operated flaps in the diffuser. And those are normally in the up position. And then as soon as you use the second key on a standard Chiron, they go down, and that takes some air off the front. Okay. So you've still got your aerodynamic balance, which is really important. What they were able to do on this is, by making the car longer and actually reducing this area here, you can reduce the drag even further, but importantly you can get the downforce balance that you want with the wing fully retracted. Okay. So again, that helps too, because it's even. Yeah, so significantly less drag.
The quite interesting thing actually looking at the car is, of course, the configuration is still the same with the full width LED tail light and the active wing that you have here, but you can see exactly where that extension has come from. And I think, well, from my understanding of engineering at a very basic level, making it longer, making it narrower at the rear, of course, all helps with making it smoother through the air.
Yeah, and you can feel driving the car, it's got a lot less drag. What normally happens is you accelerate quite fast to 400 and then you feel it tailing off a little bit as you go quicker. This just keeps on going. You're well north of 450 before you realise it's actually starting to slow down on the acceleration side.
Those numbers make no sense. The original, or I say the original, the Chiron and Chiron Sport are limited at 420.
Yes.
380 without using the speed key.
Absolutely.
So 380 is what a customer can take their car to on the Autobahn. You've gone 110 kilometres an hour faster than that.
Yeah, it's a massive amount. It is, but interestingly, whenever I've seen long tail cars, quite often they lose their elegance, don't they?
Yep.
But actually, this looks like it looks right.
I completely agree with that. And in the form of the Veyron Super Sport, which of course was a world record car at the time, the world record edition, the combination of the black with the bright orange again. But some other design too, the exhaust tailpipes have changed.
Yeah, so by putting them vertically like this, you get a wider diffuser area that you can work with. And of course, this is all helping with the aerodynamics. Okay. So what we were trying to do on the car was trying to get an aero balance equal front rear of 0, 0. Yeah. So 0 downforce, 0 lift, and therefore using the static weight of the car still on the ground. So when you think about that number, and I'm guilty of this too, I just thought, well, the car's running through the air, it's just got 0 downforce. But actually, when you think what it is, when you reach top speed, you've got basically 2,000 kilos, 2 tons of lift on the top, lifting the car up, and you've got 2 tons under the car, going under the shape of the bottom of the car, pulling the car down. So this 4 tons of force is trying to split the car in 2. So far from 0, 0 being just a nice happy number going through the air, when you think about these things, it's this massive force. So it's very important that every single part of the bodywork, and the whole car indeed, is incredibly strong and resistant to this tearing force.
Okay, that makes sense, that makes sense. Another very big topic to do with driving at 300, tyres.
Yes, and you know, working with Michelin throughout my racing career, I got a massive appreciation for what these guys do. And so what they did with these tyres, they started off with a standard Chiron tyre, and from my understanding, they just reinforced the very final part of the tyre before the rubber goes on top. Okay. So the actual bout itself. So it's exactly the same compound as a standard Chiron tyre. It's still fully road legal, fully homologated. It passes the test for rolling resistance, wet performance as a normal tyre. Wow. Looking at the 2 tyres, you wouldn't tell any difference at all. Okay. But it was deemed a good idea for speeds like this. I think so. What they have achieved though, they tested the tyre to well north of 500, and they never actually got to the point where they had a problem. Okay. So the limit is further north than that. Well, that's exciting. So the thing I didn't realise was that it was sitting in the same ride height as a Chiron in top speed mode. Yeah, it's probably, you think it looks lower because you don't normally see the Chiron in top speed mode. Yeah, and because it's longer too. But no, it's the same height. It does look quite low in top speed mode. If we could do that with the standard car, actually, you could see the same. Can we talk about the interior? Yeah, so what you see, the first thing you notice is like, where's the passenger seat gone? Well, the reason that was taken out, some of the equipment's been taken out since, but there was a lot of recording equipment in there, very bulky recording equipment, and 3 or 4 laptop computers came for the ride too.
Okay.
Basically that, and then also you see this fire extinguisher system, which is obviously not in the standard car. There's nowhere to put it. It's a standard Chiron.
Yeah.
So it was put on the floor there.
Okay, so basically the seat had to be removed, all the equipment came in, and I'm going to bet that the equipment is actually heavier than the passenger seat.
Yeah, because the extinguisher system's pretty heavy on its own, and then you've got this steel cage.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
You know, it's a solid steel cage, and it's pretty heavy.
But safety first. So the driver's seat replaced with a full bucket, but...
Yeah, and although you don't get to see these cars very often, most of our pre-production prototype cars have got this cage.
Okay.
So, you know, we're always doing high-speed work with the cars, and it makes no sense to do it without a cage. We're testing the cars. We're pushing them to the limit.
Safety first, always.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, dashboard, etc., is all normal Chiron.
It's all normal Chiron, except for one little thing. If you can't.
Okay. One little thing.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to seeing this.
If you look at the speedo, it's actually stuck on 490.
Oh no way!
So, interestingly, during all of the development of the car and all the calibrations and all the testing that they did, they estimated the top speed would be 490.
Oh
and
wow!
In fact, it was 490.4837. So that just goes to show how accurate the figures are.
That's incredible.
It really is.
That's absolutely breathtaking. I mean, I think we've all seen the video of you driving it and seeing the emotions when you achieve the speed. But that's actually incredible how accurately you could.
It is. It's actually, I was really impressed with that. But of course, when you're talking about a car going through the air 136.24 meters per second.
wait, let's think about that. I can't even put that into perspective. That building to that building is probably half what you were doing. Well, half a second.
Yeah, that's amazing. So, you know, the aero forces, as they are exponential graph as a square of the speed, every single thing, you're into an area where things are just almost out of control, aren't they, if you haven't got the right numbers sorted out. So no, they did a fantastic job, and every single part of the week that we were there achieving the speed, we did a lot of validation runs at different speeds, and we have to do this validation all the way up to as close to maximum speed as possible, just to make sure that we know where the migration of the aero goes as the speed increases on the balance.
Okay, wow, that's quite a challenging thing. Well, just seeing this car is quite spectacular. I mean, I was just saying on the video, as you pulled in around the front, it's still splattered with the bugs from your run, the 300-mile-per-hour bug impacts.
Well, you know, they were cleaning the windscreen every single time I stopped.
Okay.
I don't know what else they were cleaning, so those bugs on there were from that last run.
Oh really?
The high-speed run. So these are the high-speed bugs.
What an honour to actually be able to see this car in person. Well, thank you very much for showing us around. Huge congratulations again.
It's been a pleasure, thank you.
Great to see you, thank you. And I'm going to show you guys a little bit more about this before going on to what happens next.
Let's talk then about a topic which has been a huge discussion and debate since Bugatti took this car for its top speed run, and that's to do with world records, and is this the world record holder? Now, there are a few reasons for this, and I will give you my opinions as well and what I think on it all. But basically, when Bugatti took this car to go and set that top speed, at the time it was basically a modified Chiron. It wasn't a production car. Of course, that's now been squashed because we do know that there are going to be the 30 units for customers of the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus. And I'll tell you a little bit more about those cars and the specifications behind them as well shortly. The other thing was that the run was done at Ehra-Lessien. Now, that's the Volkswagen Group test track in the north of Germany. And the thing about it is that after decades of running, basically the tarmac can only be driven at those kind of speeds in the one direction. Now, technically, to be a world record holder, it would need to go in both directions within an hour of one another and be averaged to take that actual top speed. So because that wasn't actually done, technically that's caused some questions, and a lot of people have been discussing this. Now, one of the other things is that you have some other cars that have done these kind of speeds before. When I say these kind of speeds, nothing's actually done 304.77 that isn't a dedicated race car or a dragster or something completely built from the beginning for that purpose. What you do have, though, is a car that has gone over 300 miles per hour. In fact, a couple of years ago, M2K Motorsports in the US took a modified 2006 Ford GT, and they actually went 300.4. And the craziest thing about it is that was done in a standing single mile,
1 mile to get to over 300 miles per hour, and that car was actually road legal. Now, I'm not sure if this could be road legal in this form. Of course, the customer cars are going to be road legal, but also how fast are those going to be able to go? Now, the other thing that's been discussed is that the Guinness World Record holder for going in both directions being measured is, of course, the Koenigsegg Agera RS. There are only 25 of those, but it set a speed, an average speed of 277.9 miles per hour in Nevada just under 2 years before the Bugatti run. They did go atop in one direction, I think, of 284, but because of this, and this is my opinion, you basically have 3 different record holders. You have the Ford GT being the fastest in one direction road legal car. You have the Bugatti, which is the fastest car built by a manufacturer. Of course, they are going to become production cars, and maybe in the future we will see a production car breaking the records, perhaps even going faster than this. It's been mooted that that might be possible. And the other thing is, of course, the Koenigsegg is the Guinness World Record holder. So 3 record holders in total at the end of the day. Now, looking at this car, just to talk a little bit more about it, because it is a spectacularly good looking thing. I mean, Andy's given us all of the details. It's always great to catch up with him, to chat about the cars, and to experience some of his knowledge and understanding. He's been with Bugatti for quite a number of years and driven me in a few different cars and accompanied me when I've had my first drives in them as well. But you look at this, you can see just how that extended rear actually works. And honestly, actually, when you think about this, imagine if you went over a low overhang, you'd potentially risk catching the back just thinking about it, but don't do that. Look after these. They all need to be kept in great condition, because at the end of the day, it is the first production car to do 300 miles per hour in this configuration. Yes, you take out the cage, you take out the seats, those kind of things are going to change slightly, but this actually makes this car heavier, not lighter. That's something that people don't necessarily realize, but the suspension height is the same. Yes, the configuration is dedicated for the purpose to go to Ehra-Lessien, to be completely configured to drive right there and nowhere else. But just look at it. Just take that in. This is part of the customer journey here at Bugatti, which I always rather enjoy, where future owners come to create the specifications for their cars. And yes, you will spot behind me the Chiron 10. Now, this actually shares some parts in common with the Super Sport, but just as a quick reminder, this was launched at Quail during the 2019 Monterey Car Week just a few months ago to pay tribute to this being Bugatti's 110th anniversary year. That comes from the name Chiron 10, literally the Italian for 110, but this is also a tribute to the EB110 from the 80s, named itself after Ettore Bugatti in what would have been his 110th birthday. And there are only going to be 10 of these in total, but it actually shares the engine of the Super Sport, so the 1,600 horsepower, as opposed to the standard Chiron, if we can call it standard at all, that has 1,500. Now, the similarity actually around the rear comes to the exhaust tailpipes, mounted one above the other, where the Chiron actually has them in the centre. And this is all to do with allowing there to be more active usable space on the diffuser as opposed to having them horizontally. So it's all a slightly different setup, but this completely bespoke, only 10 units. Anyway, we are here in the room where you can see a Chiron currently loaded up on the screen, but customers will be able to go through the different options, to be able to touch and feel the different materials which are all stored all around, to meet with a designer, to go through their desired specification, to literally create the car exactly as they would like to have it. Now, I believe with the Super Sport 300 Plus, they can actually be configured in individual ways as opposed to just the black and orange configuration. But I certainly hope, like with the previous Veyron Super Sport World Record editions, and also with the Grand Sport Vitesse WRCs, they had a number of them that were always in that distinct livery. I hope that continues. But in any case, I dream of one day sitting here having the opportunity to do this. To be at Bugatti. This place is so monumentally special, and even more so when you've got a Chiron 10 next to you and the Chiron Super Sport 300 Plus is just outside. Anyway, there is one more thing we need to do. We should definitely hear that car starting up. It's such a deep and grumbly and almost angry sound, certainly louder than the standard Chiron, but how amazing has it been to be here today with the record-setting car and to have been shown around it by Andy Wallace himself as well. And to put the speed into perspective, by the way, when Andy drove in the 90s the McLaren F1 to its famous top speed also at Ehra-Lessien, that was 391 kilometers an hour, 242 miles per hour. This has gone 99 kilometers per hour faster.
That's almost the speed of a car on the highway. The motorways itself quicker than the McLaren F1. These numbers are just incredible. You look at the car here though, gleaming, the carbon fibre gleaming away in the sunshine, especially with those bright orange stripes over the top. And to be honest, to see it in person, it is quite something to behold, to see and understand actually why it's created this way. And there are going to be 30 incredibly lucky customers of this car. There is a price markup on the Chiron. It's 3.5 million euros net of taxes, but still less than half that of the Bugatti Chiron 10 and these, it's going to be something in the future. The first production car that achieved the 300 miles per hour. That is really something I think that we have to congratulate Bugatti for on that achievement. And it took a big team, a lot of work, a lot of precautions, but of course the tyres, the aero, the work involved, and to be honest, the guts and bravery of the driver, Andy himself, to actually pilot this at that speed. It's a phenomenal video as well that Bugatti have published that showed it doing that run. Customers of Bugatti do get the opportunity to come to Ehra-Lessien to drive their cars. The standard Chirons have a soft limiter of 380. With the speed key you can go 420. I suspect this will have a limiter in customer hands of something like maybe 440, 450, in the same way that the Veyron Super Sport did back at the time, because of course it's big numbers. You need to think about safety when you start driving at those kind of speeds. But as always, I've had an amazing visit here. Just to see this and be in the presence of it is something really, really special. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've enjoyed the opportunity to see this car in detail, up close and in person. A huge thanks as always to Andy and the team here at Bugatti, and thank you very much as always as well for watching. That's it for now though. I'll see you again very soon. Cheers.